that's fine. I don't think it should be illegal for people to do kink and
No,
pride
not
with
illegal.
other-
But people notice.
Take the child away if the parents are, like, for instance, abusive.
Yes,
Surely you
actually,
agree that that's a good thing.
I agree.
Right?
Their parents are not the only custodians. They're autonomous. They can make decisions about their life. You can't just force kids to live their life the way you want them to.
No. Slippery slope is literally called a fallacy.
Yeah, it is a fallacy.
No, but like just like shrugging and pointing to slippery slope. They said this about gay people. They said, oh well, first it's gay people, then it's marrying like dogs.
Then it's pedophiles. Then it's blah blah blah. Yep.
Yeah, you got to be really careful about that because that's always like it's always like, well, sure, there's no harm now, but down the future. But the future
Well, the funny
doesn't
thing
happen.
is that after Obergefell, we did have hyper normalization. Even you've gone against kink in pride parades. I know that you have.
First of all, kink and pride parades has been a thing for as long as pride parades have been, and also that's fine. I don't think it should be illegal for people to do kink and
No,
pride
not
or
illegal.
whatever.
But people noticing that cultural normalization does result in actual normalization over time.
I would
Like,
take gay people being cringe at pride parades over them being beaten and arrested
Well,
at their pride
yes.
parades any day.
Well, of course, but I don't think
One second. One second.
One second. You argue about the consequences of normalization. That is what you're arguing against. Yeah, it's that is the dynamic. It's
John,
gay
was it-
people being loud and cringe, or it's gay people being beaten and arrested.
I do not accept this false binary at all.
That is that is literally the line on
I
legalization.
want to get in here on something because I actually want to. I just want to point something out, John. Doesn't it seem like the safety of the kid is always but come first, right? Like
Correct,
the
but
government can take the
safety.
child away if the parents are, like, for instance, abusive.
Yes,
Surely you
actually,
agree that that's a good thing.
I agree.
Right?
The difference is what we define as abusive.
Wait, no.
Yeah,
the
well,
difference
I mean,
is wait,
gay
one
and
sec- no,
trans
the
kids
difference. The
being-
difference is who do
Going
we,
home
who-
after. Dude, can I get in? I'm sorry.
No,
Gay and
I'm
trans
not
kids.
running eyes at you, Tart.
Gay and trans kids do get abused by their parents when, say, for instance, if teachers are required to disclose this information, that will be a thing that you're going to have to ethically deal with in your own camp, right? That's
Sure,
something
but-
that's going to
sure,
happen.
like, if you want to, if I would be open to a policy where, let's say, the kid doesn't want to tell the parents, and if the kid, first of all, if the kid like reports like physical abuse or like a fear of physical abuse, then that's something else. But if they just say, oh, my parents don't really believe in that stuff, I'm totally still cool with like maybe watching the parents to make sure they don't physically beat the kid. But if the parents just like
How would we monitor that? How would that logistically? I don't see how that would even work.
What do you mean you don't see how that works? See,
Look, I decided to tell my parents I was gay. It didn't go well.
If they're actually being hit. But saying that like parents who take a watchful waiting strategy are outright abusive is like it's an insane position.
Well, I think it's insane. Well, it's bad for the parents to do that, sure, but I think it's even worse to deny the child spaces of comfort where they can acknowledge and have their identity acknowledged by other people. Like, for instance, I think there's lots of shitty things that a parent can do that are pretty abusive but aren't like illegal. Like, there are lots of things. There are lots of bad parents out there. But normally what you can say is like, okay, so maybe the parents are shit, but there are still like friends that you can go to, there's like, maybe your parents are homophobic. That's not illegal. But if you've got like a gay 13-year-old kid or something, then one of the best things that you can do for a person in that position is give them a space where they can like comfortably assert their identity without judgment,
By the way, this conversation kind of implies of what I said about a fundamental value disagreement of so I just want to point that out.
Would you agree that corporal punishment is a form of abuse?
In almost all cases, yeah. I mean, like, I was spanked a little bit as a kid. I was abused, but like generally, sure.
Sure. How did society? What were the mechanisms that allowed us to understand and develop the knowledge that corporal punishment is abuse?
Psychology.
Sure. Yeah, it was right.
Okay.
Once. So is you're telling me?
Oh wait, no. One second. Instead of going with, follow me along. What are the mechanisms today that we still rely on to let us know whether behaviors by adults are abusive to children?
It's the same institutions, but the institutions have been changed in multiple ways since then. And even if they hadn't, being correct once doesn't mean that you're correct the second time. This point.
How have they changed?
And this is for me. This is for me. When you talk about when you talk about the value difference, you do this like double-edged sword. You do this like, I'm on my way to the store to get a tinfoil hat because the institutions are like destroyed and commanded by like some leftist academics, while at the same time saying, well, really, it should be within the authoritarian hands of the parents to dictate the kid's life.
It's
because
beautiful.
whether you like it or not, a child and a teenager developing needs to have people they can talk to
Mhm.
without fear of it being reported to the parents,
Yes.
especially if they're afraid that what they're going to say is going to be rejected by their parents.
This
And it's
kind of
in
stuff
other,
is in scientific papers in
Yeah,
psychological.
that's what
right,
friends.
children are not just the custodian. Their parents are not the only custodians. They're autonomous. They can make decisions about their life. You can't just force kids to live their life the way you want them to.